Kabwe district is one of the 12 districts of Central Province. It is the provincial headquarters and has a population of 195,979 as of the 2010 census. Formerly named Broken Hill, Kabwe has a rich history socially, economically, and politically. From the economic perspective, it is home to the first mine in Zambia, the defunct Broken Hill mine. Broken Hill, or Kabwe as it is now called, was founded when lead and zinc deposits were discovered in 1902. Kabwe Mine, or Broken Hill Mine, was discovered in 1902 and commenced operations in 1904, reaching full-scale production in 1906. Between 1904 and 1994, the mining of lead and zinc formed the main economic stay for Kabwe town, formerly called Broken Hill. The country's oldest mine, however, wound up its operations upon the depletion of the mineral deposits in 1994. The smelting and mining of lead that went on for almost a period of 100 years has left the once booming city of Kabwe heavily polluted. Most referred to as the ghost town, the 100 years of mining activities has come back to haunt the people of Kabwe. The presence of lead pollution in the cosmopolitan town has been at the center of media agenda in the recent past, with some media houses cashing in on the subject matter. According to expert information available, the lead hotspots in Kabwe include Mutwe-Wansoko, Makululu, Kasanda, Chowa, and Katundu compounds. The consolation is that the situation is receiving the serious attention it deserves from the government and its cooperating partners. To this effect, the government of the Republic of Zambia has sourced $65.6 billion United States dollars under the Zambia Mining and Environmental Remediation and Improvement Project, ZMERIP, to address the effects of lead mining in Kabwe. The project, which is under the Ministry of Mines and Minerals Development, is being implemented by a tripartite of the Zambia Environmental Management Agency, ZIMA, and respective town councils and the project coordination unit. Kabwe Municipal Council has also benefited from the fund to a tune of $16 million United States dollars for various lead remediation activities in the hotspots of the district. Gideon Dalama is Zambia Mining and Environmental Remediation and Improvement Project's National Project Coordinator, and now gives the background to the project and interventions being done, particularly in Kabwe.
This is a project that is being carried out by the Zambian government amongst several other interventions which we have under a project called the Zambia Mining and Environmental Remediation and Improvement Project. The Zambian government has obtained a loan of $65.6 million, and the issues of lead remediation taking place in Kabwe constitute just but one of the interventions. The broad objective under this project is reduction of environmental health risks in selected mining towns, which include Kabwe, Kitwe, Chingola, and Mfulira. And we also have other interventions related to mining and environmental governance, because some of the problems that we are facing today could be linked to weaknesses in the policy and legislative framework, and the project aims to capacity build the institutions that are involved in the implementation of those elements. The activities that we are looking at today at the Mine Primary School, they constitute one of the interventions that we are going to have in Kabwe in relation to cleanup of certain areas that are contaminated. The background levels that we are getting around the school, they range from 1,000 parts per million to as high as 3,000 parts per million, which is quite high for an area where our kids play in the open places. The standard is we could have a tolerable limit of only up to 400 parts per million. And the reason we're having this kind of remediation activity, we want to deliver a safer working environment for the children at this school.
The Zambia Mining and Environmental Remediation and Improvement Project National Project Coordinator says in terms of execution, the implementing agencies are in the process of engaging a consultant. He further says the project will also have a robust program to conduct blood lead testing and treatment in the affected children in all the hotspots of Kabwe, along with other supporting activities. Mr. Ndalama is alive to the social and economic activities that are abating lead contamination in Kabwe and as a word of counsel for the mining license holders.
The work that is being done at this primary school is just some pilot remediation. We are going to have a bigger program called voluntary in-situ remediation in some of the hotspots in selected townships, which include Makululu, Choa, Kasanda, Katondo, just to name a few. And this is going to be based on a voluntary program where we are going to provide information to the household owners, and then there's going to be this voluntary program that is going to be undertaken. We are, in terms of execution of this project, we are in the process of engaging a consultant who is going to give us the engineering design for the in-situ remediation. Then we are also going to conduct an environmental and social impact assessment to enable us manage the arising health and environmental impacts that are likely to arise from the project. And in the background to that, there is a robust program in the background where the project is going to conduct blood lead level testing and treatment of affected children within Kabwe. And this is going to be done at the cost of the project, at the cost of the resources that government has obtained for us to be able to get into these activities. We also have a robust education and awareness campaign where we want to provide information, technical and scientific information to the local people in Kabwe through various media, including yourselves. I mean, this is why we feel proud that you are here to support us, because through yourselves, we should be able to relate better to the communities around us so that they can understand how they can protect themselves better, how they can manage some of these effects, and ensure that the communities are protected better. And in the background, what we're also doing is we realize that some of the problems that we are facing in relation to lead contamination as a result of socio-economic activities. I think you can clearly see, for example, in the neighborhood of this school, you can see our brothers, for example, that are involved in making bricks out of the clay material that is sitting in there. We cannot actually create any impact on the environment unless we also make an attempt to empower our people through alternative livelihood and income generation activities. The project does not have all the resources available to be able to have a widespread intervention, but we'll try the little that we can to target this intervention towards the vulnerable members of our community, particularly those that live in these affected areas. And these are all meant to provide complementary support to the remediation interventions, to the health interventions, to the education and awareness interventions, and all these elements are meant to speak to each other. And this is why we also want to send a message to our license holders in the neighborhood, because these are corporate citizens who are supposed to support the activities that we are undertaking, because if they do not do their part, we are going to have recontamination. In spite of the fact that you can do an excellent remediation work, if we have fresh contamination, all those gains that we are going to make on the project can be reversed overnight.
Paul Mkuka is Zambia Mining and Environmental Remediation and Improvement Projects Coordinator for Kabwe, and now gives an update on what is being done in Kabwe.
We had the second and final round of training of health personnel based in Kabwe from the selected health facilities where testing and treating will be done. So basically the health facilities that will be doing the testing and treating will be Kasanda Health Facility, Makululu health facility. We also have Choa health facility. We also have Katondo health facility, and also Mahatma Gandhi. So those children to be put on the treatment regime, you need to read 45 milligrams per deciliter of lead or blood lead levels. Then they will be given the drug, the chelating agent drug, to be able to completely remove the lead in blood. The drugs are in. What we are waiting for at the end of this month is just the test kits. You know, the kits that we use to basically treat and see to get the levels of lead in blood. So we're waiting for the test kits and the machines. In terms of the launch for this test and ship, we'll be able to give the dates, the definite dates, if everything comes in.
A combined team of officers from the Ministry of Mines, council officials, and Zambia Environmental Agency recently visited Kabwe to seek ways in which the long-term effects of lead pollution could be minimized. It was during this mission that it was discovered that lead readings from the sampling at Mine Primary School in Kabwe ranges between 1,800 parts per million and above, which is way too high by the United Nations acceptable standards of 400 parts per million. The school has since been picked as a pilot for lead suppression using the deep tilling or soil swab technique. Simukali Mulongwe is the Environmental and Social Safeguard Specialist at the Project Coordination Unit and now explains how the technique works.
What is going on basically here are the works, in-situ remediation works that we are trying to implement in Makandanyama, in particular at Mine Primary School. The technique that we are trying to implement is called deep tilling. So deep tilling entails that the topsoil, which is highly contaminated, is sort of flipped. You turn it basically. That's what it entails. So what is happening here is we have stripped off the contaminated soil with levels of, on average, 2,000 milligrams per kg. So we've done about 30 centimeters from the surface up to 10 centimeters. So what we are doing is we are heaping that contaminated soil up there. Then we are digging. As you can see that the excavator there is digging. So after making a trench there, we are going to get that contaminated soil buried first. After that, we will use the topsoil, that clean soil there, to cap it. So we did the same yesterday here. So far the results are excellent. The XRF results have showed us that the levels have reduced to below 400, and that is acceptable. So we are talking about levels of 150 milligrams per kg. So that is excellent, and I'm pretty sure that this method in this pilot will work, and this will give us impetus to also extend this to other areas within the neighborhood. Yeah. So when we are done with the flipping of the soil, we should be able to do greening. That's a soft engineering technique. We'll plant some grass. And then after that, under the same project, we have plans of erecting a wall fence. This is a school, a primary school for that matter, where you find the most vulnerable group, the children. So we put up a wall fence to enforce this, the intervention. Then The project will also put up a sink a borehole here, which will be used for purposes of greening.
Effective communication is crucial for acceptability and sustainability of any project. Hope Mugonte is Zambia Mining and Environmental Remediation and Improvement Project Communications Consultant, and now shares on the awareness and advocacy components of the project.
One of the things the project is doing is trying to raise awareness around the dangers of lead in Kabwe. So we have a program with teachers where we formed a committee of teachers who can help us with like the key messaging in the schools, so that they can try to add some of those key messages in the school curriculum. We are dealing with more than 20 schools, but the focus is the schools in the lead hotspots. Yes, even though when we print like the materials, when we print the cartoons and the brochures, we'll distribute everywhere. But for the teachers that we pick them from the lead hotspots, because those are the areas that are affected by lead. So one of the things that we are doing is we are turning some of those messages into cartoons. As you know, it's easier for children to understand cartoons than words. So we are turning those key messages into cartoons, and also turning them into animations for the disabled children as well, those who cannot understand. So like we have the visually impaired, and also like the others. Then on the other end, we have community programs where we are going to record some interviews on radio, where we are going to talk about the dangers of lead and how to avoid lead, what food you can eat to fight lead in the body. We already have a brochure that we have that has all the facts on lead, and we're having it translated into Bemba so that it can go in the schools and also in the community centers. So besides the physical remediation work that is happening, the aspect of letting people know what lead is, because we do believe that if they know the dangers of lead, there are things like they need to water the ground before they sweep, like mop the floor, and also they need to like plant grass, and they need to stop the children from playing in the dust. All those messages need to be repeated over and over so that they are aware of like some of the dangers of lead. So that is the other component of the project, which is the communication aspect of it.
Sylvester Sakala, one of the developers in the highly lead-contaminated area of Motwe Wansofu, had this to say.
Simuyo pa wasakala ti bana wakambongala bazambodwa.
But there must be some preventive measures. Lead. We are going to control lead. Some applies what is happening. I saw some I don't know, it's highly concentrated. That's why they want to do the
Meanwhile, Maurice Ngosa is the supervisor for Palmer Cooperative Society and shares on the steps involved in the harvesting of lead from the disused mine dump site.
Ngabali ku Black Mountain baleta separate amako na lead na dust, then ngabafuma kulia balasa mu kukulikisho to separate lead and dust. That's why it is looking like this now. So this is the finishing product. Okay, yeah.
Mr. Ndalama observes that the lead scenario in Kabwe underscores the importance of all stakeholders to develop an interest in the lead pollution fight. He observes that the issue is not isolated to Kabwe alone, because the consumption markets are beyond the boundaries of the cosmopolitan town, while the chain of handling the elements will move from one point to the other.
Yeah, I think what it underscores is the importance of all stakeholders having an interest in this matter. We are not dealing with a local issue related to Kabwe alone, because the consumption market goes beyond the town of Kabwe. And even in terms of the chain of handling, these elements will move from point A to point B in different circumstances and different storage facilities, transportation facilities, and in the process you have those effects actually going beyond the confines of the area where we are standing today. So this is why we are saying that it is everyone's interest, and everyone must take a keen interest in ensuring that we deal with the issues of lead pollution as a team, as a nation.
Mr. Ndagama also raises the issues of exposure to dust during the mineral processing, which has a number of health effects, and notes that most of the people involved are youths. He is also alive to the fact that the water body is not an isolated one, and that at some point it will interact with other water tables, thereby posing a danger to other social and economic activities.
Here, related to mineral processing, it's the issues of exposure to dust. A number of environmental health effects, and we obviously can see a large group of youth that are involved in these activities, and this is material that is coming from the dump sites where there is primary processing without water, and in that environment there is a lot of dust that is raised, and in the final process it is a little much safer because it is happening in a water environment. But obviously, as you and I might understand, this is not an isolated water body. At some point it interacts with the rest of the other water tables, and that's why we're saying when you look at the large number of people that are involved, they do not have any safe protective equipment on them, and they are therefore continuously exposed in the process of lead materials. And what we are saying is everyone ought to take a keen interest in what is taking place if we are to win this battle fighting lead contamination. The issues, like we had said earlier, they go beyond the communities in Kabwe, because they are interested traders who are receiving the materials in other towns.
This is the 6.5 kilometer discharge canal that was meant to empty the lead effluents from the defunct Broken Hill mine. The canal has over the years been neglected and weed has overgrown. Mr. Ndalama now shares the plans for the canal under the Zambia Mining and Environmental Remediation and Improvement Project and what has been done so far, but he is saddened with the misuse of the canal.
We are standing at one of the sections of the 6.5 kilometers Kabwe Canal, which is a structure that begins its journey in Kololo and it terminates 6.5 kilometers later. As you can see, it is overgrown with weed. It has collected debris over a long period of time. Some sections are concrete lined, other sections are not concrete lined. And the importance of this canal is that it was constructed during the Power Environmental Project and constructed for the purpose of acting as hydraulic conveyance of contaminated materials to serve the purpose of cleaning the environment of lead contamination. And due to lack of maintenance, it is in the state which we are capturing today. The project under Kabwe Municipal Council have a program to rehabilitate, decontaminate it, remove the debris, and it's going to be concrete lined and it's going to be landscaped. We have a few constraints, as you can see if you look at that wall that has come through. In a few places we have some constructions that have come quite close to the canal. But it is a complementary effort that is meant to assist the remediation program within Kabwe, and it is going to be assisted by other interventions such as the engineered sanitary landfill.
Jerry Sinyango is Kabwe District Health Director and now explains the dangers of lead pollution and the health remediation interventions that have been put in place.
I'm sure you're aware that for a long time now there was lead and zinc being mined in Kabwe, and because of that we have certain areas in Kabwe that are affected by lead. Mostly mine area, which is near Kasanda Clinic, Makululu, Makandanyama, which is just adjacent to Makululu, parts of Katondo and Choa. Those have a lot of lead exposure. The problem with lead is that it has a lot of effects on the body, in that it's able to affect a lot of organs in the body. For instance, it can affect the brain. If it's in children, mostly when the brain is affected at an early age, the damage might actually be irreversible. We're talking about a child who might develop conditions such as loss of intelligence, their cognitive ability might get affected, and then also some of them, their personality as well as their developmental milestones might actually be affected by lead. I'm mostly mentioning children because they are more at risk of lead poisoning than adults. As you may be aware, children, because they are growing up, they are trying to explore their environment. They are mostly they are learning to crawl or walk, and mostly like putting things in their mouth. And the ingestion of lead is one way of being exposed to lead. And because of the vast effects of lead in the body, as I've mentioned, it is important that we put in measures to ensure that the people that are mostly affected are protected from further exposure to lead, particularly in areas that I just mentioned. So as a ministry, what we've embarked on in partnership with a project that is being supported by World Bank, we are calling ZMERIP, Zambia Mining Environmental Remediation Improvement Project. We have already so far trained more than 50 health workers to start attending to children below the age of 5. Because like I said, mostly children get affected because they are trying to crawl, they're trying to explore their environment. So we intend to start screening children for blood lead levels, and those children whose blood level is about 45 micrograms per deciliter will be put on chelation therapy. There is a drug that has already been procured, again through World Bank. We call dimercaptol succinic acid, or SAXMA in short. That's the chelating agent that we're going to be using to give children who are going to be eligible for treatment. Apart from that, we also feel that it would be incomplete to just put children on treatment without addressing the source of the lead. So we've also embarked on dust control measures to ensure that we reduce dust in areas where our children are coming from. So far we have trained clinical officers, nurses, pharmacy personnel, laboratory personnel, and in charges for 5 facilities in Kabwe, which are Makululu, Kasanda, Choa, Katondo, and Mahatma Gandhi. Although Mahatma Gandhi is not really so much affected, the catchment area for Mahatma Gandhi not so much affected with lead poisoning, but it's still not spared, and we felt that we needed to also have a facility that may be able to save areas that are not so much hit, and that's how we brought Mahatma Gandhi on board.
The covenant entered into by the World Bank, the government and Cabo Municipal Council is seen by many stakeholders as the declaration of intent to heal the lead empowerment in the hotspot areas. However, in spite of all these efforts and over a decade of mining inaction, the dump site is buzzing with scavenging activities for lead remnants, while people knowingly or unknowingly have continued to build in the hotspot areas. Worse still, these lead concentrates end up in individual homes and in Lusaka and Copper Belts provinces for readily available markets at the expense of exposing people, especially children, to its hazardous effects. The implications of what is obtaining on the ground entail that the war against lead pollution is far from being won, and the situation remains a major public health concern, especially among the most vulnerable members of the community, the children. While the government and its cooperating partners are doing a commendable job, the premonition of doom surrounding the situation leads to the big question that is begging for answers: just who is safe?